late to the party, where we review movies that are at least 10 years of age or older.
Sure.
Okay. And we talk about them. So we got the Comic Cave guys here. We got Isaac. We got Lego. Jason, sorry. I'm used to calling you Lego. And we got Jose. We got Josh and myself. And our fearless leader, Nate the Great. There he is. Collection Connection, Nate the Great.
I didn't vote for her.
This week, our movie review is being done from the Wheel of Misfortune, is what I call it. So we put on we put a bunch of movies on the wheel, we spun it, and what came up was The People Under the Stairs. It was released in 1991. It was directed and written by Wes Craven. It has an IMDb score of 6.4 and a Rotten Tomatoes of 67%. So, let's see. It had a budget of, I didn't get to Walmart.com. Sorry. It had a budget of $6 million and it made a total of $31 million in the box office. So it did pretty good for a horror movie. Usually horror movies don't tend to get that high of a scale there. It starred Brendan Quinton Adam as Fool, AJ Langer as Alice, Ving Rhames as Leroy, Sean Whalen as Roach, Everett McGill as Man, and Wendy Robbie as Woman, because they never really had their own names in this movie, and I didn't realize that until I looked this up. And I would classify this movie as a romantic comedy horror adventure because it's got it all in it. So how many of you guys had seen it or hadn't seen it before this week? Has everybody seen it?
I had never seen it before.
Never seen it.
So Jose, Nate and Isaac, you never saw it?
No.
I never made you watch it?
No.
Nate and Isaac, you guys saw it? All right, so I guess I will go to Jose. What did you think of this fantastic frivolity of movie?
Well, horror sure has changed. That's for dang sure. But I enjoyed the concept. There wasn't no real monster per se. It was more, I don't know how, would you consider this a psychological horror in a way?
No.
Maybe
No?
it's more suspense. I don't know. They put it as a dark comedy horror is what they usually categorize it as.
That couple was the monster, dude. Those people were evil.
Yeah.
But does ego make monster? I'm just kidding. Let's dissect that. Huh? No. Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I was more terrified of the of that brother sister act than I was with any of the kids that were running around.
You mean the people under the stairs?
No, they weren't under the stairs. They were under the attic. Or in the basement. Sorry, in the basement.
And in the walls.
And in the walls, but I don't remember seeing anyone under any stairs, which is very blatant false advertisement by this movie.
So
it was gnarly, dude. And so to sum it all up, I don't know. It was crazy. Like it definitely left an impression on me.
What about you, Jason?
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Whenever I watch these old movies, I like to play drinking games with myself, and this time I chose to take a drink every time someone burst out of a wall, and man, I got torn up. Almost as bad as those walls. That house, I can't believe it's still standing because the structural integrity must just be gone.
Josh?
I've seen a few other Wes Craven films, and I think this is kind of in line with what he usually does. It's cheap horror thrills with a little bit of comedy thrown in. I think it has some story twists that kind of keep you guessing, because the way that the film begins, it's like some like gritty, like growing up story in the hood. And man, the hood in a way is almost more wretched and violent than the house of horror that they end up, running around in. That when he's going through the projects to try and get home, and there's like dogs eating dead things and people shooting up in the hallways and just like crazy crap happening. You're like, oh my God. And then when he gets in that house and there's all that creepy stuff going on and everything, you're like, oh, well, this is kind of like a respite. It's I think it's typical for his movies, and once you get a handle on that feel, I think you can enjoy it a lot more. In the beginning, it's a little I don't know, disjointing, I think.
Well, Isaac and Nate, my question to you guys then is, since you've seen it, does it still hold up for you guys? I don't know when the last time you saw it was, but I'm assuming it wasn't like last week or even last year. Isaac?
I'm gonna say it doesn't hold up. The acting from the brother or the guy was pretty weird. He reminded me of Jim Carrey. A lot of Jim Carrey moments I got from him. I was like, did Jim Carrey and this guy go to the same acting school and like with the same acting coach? Because it was so spot on, like his and all that stuff was so Jim Carrey. And then I caught a revelation. I was like, dude, this is before Pulp Fiction, so the Gimp and Vin Rames, Marcellus Wallace had known each other. So this was the prequel of the Marcellus Wallace Gimp meeting. So that was cool. I forgot all about that. Other than that, the jokes were very old, very not that funny. It's just it's an old movie, 90s. And it was enjoyable in parts, but I forgot how crazy this movie was.
What? This is 30 years old, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm old. Nate? Same question.
I mean, when I liked this movie when it came out, and I'm a big fan of Wes Craven. He had me with Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's like that movie was so endearing to me that everything else he does, it's just kind of like an extra card in the hand. Like he already had an ace, the hand already won, and he's just adding extra cards to it as it keeps going. So this movie's got it doesn't super hold up, but I mean the acting's not great, the story's okay, the directing's not bad. I said the makeup probably could have been a little bit better. Some of those people under the stairs looked like zombie rejects. And piggybacking on what Lego said, and I don't usually like to piggyback off of you guys, but the house it started off being this fortress where the people were all held inside of it. Then all of a sudden, now that all the ghettos outside knocking on the door, the walls become as frail as balsa wood, and people can just burst through them and try to pull the brother and sister incest Ozark couple down in flames with it. It's just there were some inconsistencies in there, but it's just kind of like it was what it was for the time. And if you compare it with other movies at the time, like it was a solid horror movie for that summer. It wasn't bad. And then if you look at just look at Wes Craven's like Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, like, dude, if that's all you ever do, you're a legend. So everything else was just throwing it on the wall and seeing if it sticks, and this one didn't stick.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird one I don't want to say a weird one, but this is like a precursor, I think, to his adding comedy to his horror, because the first few movies he's done, were like stuff like, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street. There wasn't really a lot of humor in that one. And The Hills Have Eyes and The Last House on the Left, I think, or yeah, Last House on the Left. Those ones were those were like more like horror. And then he starts getting into stuff like The People Under the Stairs and Shocker, and I think he wrote Candyman. But yeah. So yeah, I like this one, but it dovetails into my growing up and what my dad made me watch as a kid, which was a lot of B-rated horror, and this is kind of where it's at. So how about best and worst scenes? Let's just go back around, starting with Jose again.
Best scene.
Or worst.
Or both.
Or both.
I'm trying to think if it's possible to have the best scene also be the worst scene. I'm thinking back really, really hard. God, I don't even know. It's like you said, Liz, this is kind of like a weird one for me because I was definitely not trying to take it too serious, but I don't know. Come back to me. Let me think.
Okay. Lego.
I think my favorite scene would probably be when the man is running around with the rifle and he's got the bayonet and he's just, I'm gonna find you, I'm gonna kill you, you know, doing his whole thing, and he's got the blood, and then he like stabs him, and he's like, oh, I got him, and just his acting was so over the top, and it was like wacky, and the sound effects throughout that whole scene where he's chasing him, it really had me like, it reminded me of like Evil Dead, and I love those movies, so it was really fun watching that scene. It's probably my favorite.
Do you have a worst? I know you're not a worst person, but
not really. I mean, I feel like the movie was it was even, the quality was even throughout. I didn't see anything that was just so bad that I was like, oh God, like this movie. So I don't know. It's cool.
Josh.
And I think that's a pretty good assessment. It's a pretty even-keeled kind of movie. It doesn't have any epic highs, but it doesn't have any bottom feeder lows like Phantasm. But anyway, catch that review if you haven't seen it. No, my favorite scenes were the scenes with Roach, and it's actually kind of sad for me because I thought that was the first part where you kind of got a sense that this really wasn't your standard horror film. You know, up to that point, everything is really grim and gritty, and you know, the kids learning how to like burgle a place so they can steal gold coins and stuff, and then the one guy is dead, and you're like, what the hell's going on? There's these creatures living in the walls, and then he meets, you know, one of them, this kid called Roach, and this kid is just like, you know, laughing and having a good time, you know, driving the father in the house crazy. The guy's shooting up the place with a shotgun, and he's running around, and then you realize that he's just like some kid living in the walls having a good time, and he set up like these booby traps, and he takes Fool through the house, and I like that character, and he ends up, you know, spoilers, but too bad for you, it's 91, so get over it. He ends up getting it like halfway through the film, and I just felt like, oh, what a wasted character. You know, you think this guy's gonna go someplace, and he gets hit with some buckshot, and it's over for the poor bastard. So, but anyway, I think the scenes that had him in it, and he's like, we were talking about, he's a fairly famous actor. We've seen him in stuff before. I just couldn't place him, like what other movies he's been in. But
he's like the Kevin Bacon of like horror movies, where he just he's always in them, but you never remember which one he's in.
Anyway, that would be my favorite. I'm with Jason. I don't think there's any scene that's particularly like gnarly and ridiculous, and you're like, what's that there for? But well, except for Fool's prostitute sister, I was like, ugh.
Okay.
I know.
Isaac?
My favorite scene is a Roach scene for sure. It's when Fool gets thrown into the pit of the the monster men, and he's gonna be fed to the cannibals. And all of a sudden, they look over, and the body of Bing Rames is being held up, and he's like, "Aah!" And they all look over, and remember he says, "Hey, you never seen a brother before?" So he's new to them too. So they're like, they see the other brother, and he's in the, "Aah!" And they're like, well, maybe we shouldn't mess with him because he's a part of that. So that was pretty funny, because you look at when you think Ving Rhames is probably coming to life, but then you realize it's Roach with him, and he does the little and he's like calls him over, and he brings him, he's like and he goes up the little thing, and that was spot on. Good job, Roach. You saved fool.
You try to talk without a tongue in your mouth and see what happens. And how good you can articulate.
Yeah, and he could say names without that part of his tongue too.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
Nate,
Yes.
what do you got?
There's two scenes that I remember when I think about this movie, because it had been so long that I had seen it, that I remembered Roach because he looked like one of my wife's old friends. And I remembered the scene where the big Rottweiler first comes into the room, and the fool's supposed to distract him so that Ving Rhames can jump him. And the dog's just kind of like, I'm not really trying to kill this kid. I want to get the big dude. And then the guy pokes his head up. Where's he at? And then the dog like goes after him. So like that was the scene that I remember. And I also remember when he gets the coins and he sticks them into the candle. And I remember when I was a kid, I tried to do that, and I couldn't, like, the amount of time that it would take. So you have to heat the coin and then melt it into the candle without breaking it. It's like, man, if you're getting chased by a maniacal gimp with a shotgun, you don't got time to be setting elaborate Goonies traps. So, as an expert punji pit maker, there's other traps that might be more easy to do. So those two scenes stuck with me the most.
Jose, you got anything?
Yeah, I just think it's I thought back to when the what's their name, their partner at the beginning, when they're driving to go scope the house out, and he dresses up like an electrician or a gas man, and she's so consumed by the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, that when she notices the ring on his hand, she lets him in, kind of like, okay, yeah, making him think like, oh, I got you. But in reality, it's the other way around. And just the very subtle, like, okay, come on in, make it quick. But she knows what her intention is, and it's all just off of that one little silent clue that she sees.
I think my favorite scene is the one that Lego was talking about, where he's got the bayonet and he's chasing him around, and he sticks it through the wall, and he pulls out, and it's got the blood on it, and he runs back into the hallway. He's like, I got him, I got him, I got him. He's like doing this like hillbilly hoedown, like happy dance around the woman, and the whole time she's just staring at him, deadpan, didn't crack a smile, didn't do anything. And I can't imagine how many takes they had to do for that, because I would have been laughing my ass off watching that actor doing that around me half the time. And she was just totally like, then after he's done, he looks at her all like proud, and she's just like, prove it. And you're like, damn it, fine. That was that's probably my favorite scene. All right.
What about the scene that where you cracked up the most was when Fu drops the brick on him when he's looking at the chimney.
So that's
it's like some slapstick comedy, and he gets
Home Alone
crowned.
moment. And then he's like, I think I see something, and it's just like, bam! You just know the brick is coming. When he asks for her to hand him the brick before they even get out onto the roof, you just know there's a chimney in this house, and this brick's going down it. So, all right, well, let's get to the fun buckets. Jose, bucket.
Yes.
Give us the buckets.
I'm gonna give it a 50%. Give it a solid 5.
Cool. Lego. Bucket me.
Lego, your volume's off.
We don't have you on my screen, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh, what's up, everybody?
How you doing?
I think for my buckets, I'm going big buckets. I think it's a solid 7. It's a solid 7. It's pretty even throughout. It's pretty funny. Sound effects are hilarious. The acting's pretty funny but good, and it was a fun movie to watch. So I don't know if I'd recommend it as like a must watch, but I had a good time.
Joshua.
Yeah, I was going to say a 6. I think in every way it's pretty average, but I want to give Wes Craven extra credit. I think that, like Liz said, you see in the beginning, he starts off as, kind of a strictly horror guy. And, with things like People Under the Stairs, you can see he's exploring new methodologies, new ways of telling a story, new genres to be a part of, which he really ends up perfecting by the time he gets to stuff like Scream, where everything is real seamless and it fits together well. People Under the Stairs is a little bit on the clunky side because he's just trying, he's kind of throwing, like it was said before, throwing the spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. So I'm going to give him a little extra credit. So I'm going to go with a 6.
Isaac.
I'm gonna go with the 5, right down the middle. Fun movie. Again, like Lego said, it's not one that I would recommend, but it was fun.
Mr. the Great.
I'm gonna keep it at a 7. It was extra credit for Wes Craven and his resume for sure. I had forgot about it, but I really hadn't forgotten about it. So it was one of those ones that once you mention it, I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's a cool one. So I didn't lose that when I watched it. So it still holds up.
Cool. And I too am putting it at a 7. It's pretty even keel, but it's a lot of fun. Again, like what Nate was saying is that when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, doesn't this happen? Because I watched it with Josh and my dad. My dad's he's like a big horror guy too. And so
I think he was laughing more than the both of us together.
Yeah, but he also was, I think, playing the drinking game without watching the movie. So but it's right up there. I like this is my kind of, I guess, horror. I don't like the over the top gratuitous violence and gross and just yuck for yuck's sake. This was just kind of like my fun. But yeah, this is my even keel like horror movie. This is right where my comfort zone is. So, and I love this movie. It was just a lot of fun. So, Nate, aren't you picking for next week?
Are we gonna do the wheel, or we're just gonna go back to me?
If you don't have a suggestion, spin the wheel.
I got suggestions. I just I had this idea that what we could do was, at least for a little while, just to shake it up a bit, that everybody on the show here, we come up with one movie that we really want everybody else to watch, and then when we go to talking that we'll all mention that one movie, we'll put it on the wheel, and then we'll get movies from people who are watching it, and then we'll see what we get to watch next. So that way everybody's got a shot at picking a movie, and then our viewers do too.
It's a cool idea. I like it.
That's a no. You're not picking then, huh?
Or I got
Just to sum up.
I mean, I'm just
how do I
throwing
close this out?
spaghetti on the wall.
Well, then I'll let you close this episode out so you can let us know what we're doing, what we're supposed to watch for next week.
All right. Well, if you want to know what we're going to watch next week, tune into Talking Shh. We're going live at 9:30 on Monday, which would be 5 days ago when this comes out. But you can go back and watch it too, because I keep all of the previous live shows up. So if you want to see how this all unfolded, you go and watch it there. So next week, We're gonna get to play the late to the party roulette and see who does what where. See how that goes. For late to the party, we've got Caveman, Isaac, Jose, Lego, the Scots. They're giving it all they've got, Captain, and me, Nate the Great. Collection Connection. See you next week.